Okay. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Am I live now? Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our Applied Linguistics course, and today we're gonna continue our discussion of the elements of argument. Last time, if you remember, we talked about the different parts of an argument, and we said that there were the different elements of an argument, and we said that an argument consists of, number one, a claim that's made by someone who wants to prove it and who wants us to be convinced of it. And number two, grounds. This speaker provides a set of grounds in order to prove this claim. And number three, warrants, which is the bridge between the claim on the one hand and the grounds on the other hand. Then this warrant must be backed by something called backing, which has to do with general rules that govern our life. And then the last thing is rebuttals, where we have to address the counter views which some people may provide to undermine our claims and to provide counter evidence and counter arguments. Okay, as I told you, we're gonna cover chapter number 4. So I want you to get your books because I will refer to some parts in this chapter and some pages also. So today we have warrant, okay, and warrants. This is, if you look at this, we find that the first element of an argument is claim, okay, and we said that claims are opinions, points of view, positions, stances, conclusions, things we believe in and we want people to believe the same. And if you look upward, you'll find grounds. A set of grounds consists of evidence, proofs, let's say expert testimony, facts, common grounds, common knowledge, things we all agree on, and so on. In order to link grounds which lead to claims, we must pass by something called warrants. Warrants represent the bridges between our grounds, our reasons, and the claims or the points of view or the opinion that we advocate. So what are warrants? Warrants are statements that link between grounds or reasons and claims. So if we put forward grounds, they must be in accordance with a number of warrants, okay, general statements, implied statements, and all will lead to claims. Let's see these things in detail. Yeah, let's see what's meant by warrant. Yeah, first, warrants are general statements. Warrants are general statements that authorize making a claim based on grounds. So what are warrants? Warrants are general statements, general beliefs, general rules, general let's say laws, general principles that we all agree on. We take them for granted, and this is why warrants are usually implied. Warrants are usually implied in the sense that you will not find them made explicit. You have to understand them. They are taken for granted. We as speakers and hearers, writers and audience, we agree on them. We don't argue them, okay? We agree on them. So let's take some examples, okay? I refer you to the book first before I give you further examples. Let me go to page, please open your books. on page 44, the nature of warrants. The nature of warrants. احنا قلنا warrants are what? Are general statements taken for granted and implied. They are not said explicitly in most of the cases. They are not said explicitly in arguments. We agree on them. Okay. Let's say a conversation between A and Q. A is assertor, someone who is making claims, someone who is, we can call him or her claimant, المدعي. And Q is a questioner, someone who is asking to verify this claim, to make it sure that this claim is acceptable, to go on with the rest of the steps in argumentation. Remember that we said before that argumentation is a process. It's a process, it's a journey. We start with a claim. This claim needs grounds. These grounds must be based on some general statements. We call them warrants. These warrants must be qualified in one way or another. Maybe we say certainly, we say probably, we say most, we say all, and so on. And then we have backing, things we take from our life, general laws that back these warrants. Okay, let's take an example. And number 8, there is a fire. So number Q, why do you say that? Number A, the smoke, you can see it. So wherever there is smoke, there is fire. So what is this? Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. This is warrant. You understand? So what's the claim? There is fire. And what is ground, or what grounds does he provide that if there is there is smoke grounds ده سببه ان في smoke. Okay. طيب ايه الورنت بقى اللي احنا نعمله؟ نربطهم الاثنين مع بعض. Connection, link. Okay. If there is smoke, there is fire. Okay. If there is smoke, there is fire. There is fire. Okay. There is fire. Okay. As long as there is smoke, or there is smoke, therefore وبالتالي إذن there is fire. So warrant is what links بما أن إذن in Arabic. بما أن إذن. You understand? طيب. Let's go to another point. Okay, on page 46. And here we have extending the burden of analysis. So let's see the figure here, the figure, or this graph or whatever. Okay, we find that first you have to the left you have a number of facts. F1, fact 1, F2, fact 2, an infinite number of facts. Okay, and then let me switch off. Yeah, and then these facts or these grounds, okay, تصور, authorize making a claim, may prove a particular claim in accordance with. So the word in accord, or the phrase in accordance with, this is what we call بموجب. Okay. إذن عن طريق بما أن, all these things. Okay, in accordance with warrant. In accordance with warrant. Let's see. It is agreed that F1, which is fact 1, F2, and then Fn يعني infinite number of facts, يعني whatever the number of facts. Okay, these grounds, okay, say that you know, given these grounds, as long as we have these grounds and we have these facts and we have these pieces of evidence, then or therefore we can say, or we conclude that X is so and so. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, here is this example. Okay, John is not experienced enough for the job. What's this? This is C. This is a claim. John is not experienced enough for the job. A claim, a point of view. Understand? طيب. Let's look at the G, the grounds. What are the grounds? What are the reasons? Why does the speaker say that? Okay, G, number one, he started his career not long ago, long time ago. And number two, he needs more training. He needs more training. الأسباب بتاعته إنه he doesn't see that John is experienced enough. And he gives these two reasons which we call them grounds. What is the warrant؟ نستنتج إيه بقى من الكلام ده؟ In experienced and well trained people have better chances or better prospects for employment. تاني experienced. يبقى البرنسبل general principle which governs this argument is that, or الورنت بتاعها هو ايه, is that experienced people, well-trained people, they have better chances of having job opportunities than people who are not qualified and who are not well-trained. طب خدنا الكلام ده منين؟ This is a fact, this is general assumption. We assume that. فرضية عامة, this is general assumption. You understand? That as long as people are not qualified and they don't have enough training, so they don't have better chances of having jobs. On the other hand, or by contrast, if people are qualified and they have good training and they are well trained, of course their prospects and their chances for having jobs will be much greater. So here we have C and we have, which is claim, and we have G. Warrant links both. Links both. Okay? Because John is not experienced and not trained, he cannot get the job. This explains or links the relationship, links the grounds to the claim. Okay, let's go back to the book. Okay. Warrants can take different forms. Warrants can take different forms depending on the context or the field in which we can find it. Okay. For example, in bottom of page 46, we have smoke, ground, reason, and then smoke means fire, which is warrant, حاجة احنا متفقين عليها, and then so fire. So if there is fire, if there is smoke, there is fire. This is the argument that we have. In science and engineering, what kinds of warrant do we have? What kinds of warrant do we have? Of course, in science, in natural sciences, we have theories. We have laws, such as, for example, gravity law, such as mechanics laws, such as motion laws, sound laws, قوانين, you know, understand? يبقى in accordance with these laws, we conclude so and so. Just like when you solve a mathematical problem, you have some elements, and in the light of these elements, you deduce the conclusion. This conclusion is what we call claim. So therefore, claim is supported. You understand? So if someone, an engineer, عندنا مثال, an example on page 46, an example of an engineer who wants to design a bridge, and he wants to calculate the amount of steel that's needed in order to construct this bridge. He makes his own calculations in the light of a number of formulas, معادلات, and he arrives at certain conclusions, or that he's gonna need a particular number of amounts of steel and material in order to construct the bridge. Okay, and this is why we have a figure at the bottom. Values of unknown variables leads to the values of known, what we know. We deduce the unknown from what we know. Just like, as I told you, solving a mathematical problem in geometry and so on. if so and so, then so and so. Because if and then, this is warrant. Okay. Now, if we move to another field, which is law, for example. So on page 48, we have someone who has parked his car in a metered parking in front of a meter, and he doesn't provide coin in order to be allowed to keep his or to park his car in this place. You know, in parking spaces, there's something called the meter. You have to provide or insert some let's say coins in order to be allowed to park your car in, and without being subject to paying a fine. If you were caught of doing such a wrong thing, you can't park your car without paying, and so on. And then and here we have the argument. Let's look at it. Okay, towards the bottom of page 48. Okay, let's say, number one, if you go to your lawyer and you say, no, I don't, could you please, I don't want to be fined, I just want you to defend me, I didn't make something wrong. No, he's going to tell you, no, you made something wrong, you violated the law, and you should have paid for your car parking, for parking car in this place. So he's going to mention to you this argument. Number one, G. You left your car in a metered parking space without putting money in the meter. ما حطيتش في العداد في الحاجة الفلوس. Okay. طيب. What is the law here? The warrant بقى. What is the law? Let me. Okay. What is the law here? The law is that in the middle, anyone who leaves a car in a metered parking space without putting money in the meter can be found guilty of an offense. He must be fined for that. This is law. So law here is our warrant. We abide by it. We go to it. We refer to it. We build our conclusions on it. And this is why lawyers and judges, they build their, let's say, their verdicts or their sentences or their rules in accordance with the laws. And the laws here are the warrants. بموجب laws, we do so and so. We can judge so and so. Now, what's next? Okay, you are liable to be found guilty of an offense. So the three elements: ground, you left your car without putting money in the meter. Number two, according to the law, people who do so, they are guilty of violating the law. And number three, as long اللي هو الكليم بقى, so you are most probably you are really, according to the law and according to the grounds اللي موجودة, you have violated the law and you must pay some fine, and no one can quit you of that. No one can help you, that you are guilty, you have made an offense, and you have to pay for that. Okay, so warrant can take in the form of smoke and fire. It's what? It's a fact. And in the case of the car and the one who left his car in a parking without paying money, this is what? Law. Warrant takes the form of law. You understand? If you go to page 49, we have something else. Okay? This is something we can find in our life. Bill habitually, G. Let's go to the claim first. Bill treats his wife Joanne unjustly. Is this a claim? واحد شايف إن Bill is not a good husband. He treats his wife unjustly, unfairly. طب إيه الgrounds بتاعته؟ أهو. Bill habitually spends his evening at Jem's bar and expects his wife Joanne to stay home and look after the kids. These are his reasons that support his verdict or his claim that Bill is not a good husband, is not a cooperative husband. طيب, what is the warrant? Why do we say that he is not a good husband in the light of these argument, of these grounds? Because we have principles, values in our society that we agree on, things that we determine the way we look at things. If we find a husband who is not cooperative, is not helpful, who goes outside and enjoys his time, leaving the burden on his wife, so what is the principle that is there here? This is the warrant in the middle, which we call social principle. Let's read. It's unjust to expect your wife to give up. It's general principle. It's unjust to expect your wife to give up her spare time to babysit without ever taking a turn yourself. This is a conclusion. If any husband, not only Bill, does something like that, we generalize a rule that people who do that, husbands who do that, are not treating their wives justly. They are not good husbands. They are not cooperative. They are not helpful. They are not kind husbands. Okay? So here we have to say that the warrant, general assumptions, statements we agree on that link claims and grounds could take different form. Could be a principle زي مبدأ الزوجة والزوج ده. It could be a law. It could be a fact. It could be a policy. It could be a policy. For example, let me give you an example. If you say that people who are under, let's say under 20 are not allowed to, let's say, John is under 20. John is 18 or 17. Okay? This is a claim. Number two, the ground, he can't drive. He is not allowed to drive. This is ground, and that's why he let's say he goes to university by bus or by train and so on. He can't get a license, a driving license. And what's the warrant according to the law? That teenagers are not allowed to be given driving license. So this is policy and this is law. And so let me give you another example. In a company, people should use a particular uniform. Okay, people should use a particular uniform. What is the ground here? What are the grounds? Using particular or unified uniform empowers the public image of the company and enhances corporate, let's say, corporate performance. Okay, so what is the warrant here is that obeying the rules of obeying the rules of or the policies of the company, okay, is good for anyone is good for companies to move forward and to improve their performance and to enhance their potentials. You understand? Okay, let me go to type. If we move to another field, which is medicine. What is the form of let's say warrant ياخد شكل ايه بقى في الميديسن? You understand? بموجب ايه? Let's say that suppose that you have زي ما هو قال لنا كده on page 50 you have a physician and he has a patient and is required to diagnose. In what way does he diagnose? According to his knowledge, according to his experience, according to the what he has studied in his medical profession, training in medical schools and so on. So the warrant here is based on science, is based on experience, is based on let's say hunches, guesses, or making something that is inference. You can say inferencing, حدس استنتاج out of his experience. Maybe he has let's say, for example, he has a patient who has fever and his face is pale, and let's say, and also he feels lazy, and so on. And these are the sentence. In the light of this sentence, in the light of this sentence, he concludes that he has a viral infection. He has a viral infection. How did he arrive at this conclusion? How did he arrive at this claim? How did he formulate or put forward this claim that this guy is or has a viral infection? How? In the light of the data, that he is feverish, that he is pale, that he's lazy, and so on. These are the grounds. And in the light of his experience as a doctor, as a physician, in the light of his knowledge, his medical knowledge, and so on. So warrant can take the form of knowledge, experience, hunches, and so on. Let's read this example on page 50. Okay. This patient, let's go to the claim, to the right. The patient is very possibly qualified, very possibly suffering from a viral infection. Very possibly suffering from a viral infection. Okay. What are the grounds? Reasons ايه بقى? What are the grounds? نطلع بقى to the left. This patient displays pallor around the temple. Pale is number 2, together with leisurely but low fever. He's so lazy, he's not so energetic, and he is also feverish. Furthermore, the pallor in this case strikes me as a virus kind of pallor. So also this is a conclusion, another reason out of his experience. So what's the warrant? Look at the part in the middle is a warrant, because this is a bridge, as I told you before. Pallor, leisurely, low fever often means viral or bacterial infection or exhaustion from overwork, or in a few cases neurotic stress. So he has some laws. He understands that if you have a patient who suffers from these symptoms or these things, you can conclude and you can infer or you can deduce that this guy has this kind of disease, which is a bacterial infection. Okay, so in medicine, warrant is based on studies, based on let's say experience, is based on inferencing. Okay, let's go to another field of life, which is aesthetics and psychology. Okay, and this sort of argumentation we use in our let's say when we make a critical appreciation of a poem or a book or a novel. Okay, this is our point of view, but this point of view must be supported by things from the text itself in order to convince readers that this is the case. So you have to support your point of view. In this case, we don't have laws like physics and medicine and mathematics, or we don't have, let's say, formulas. We don't have, let's say, hunches and so on. Medical, let's say, knowledge. But we have a point of view, and we have something called, let's say, referring to the relevant details. Talking, it's a matter of taste. It's a matter of subjective things. So you say that in the light of these elements in a particular poem, we can conclude that the writer or the poet is the theme is so and so and so. What is the warrant here? The warrant is that in poems you make a generalization. In poems which tackle certain themes, you will find some features such as the use, for example, use of sound symbolism, alliteration. Particular styles, particular, let's say, vocabulary, let's say, particular grammar, and so on. So you take evidence from the work of art you are doing, you are criticizing, and you generalize this in the light of what you have studied before, and also your history and your history as a student or as a researcher or as a reader to this sort of or this genre of poetry or genre of writing and so on. Okay. So let's go to page 52. Okay. Yes. If we have also C, W, and G. Let's look at conclusion or claim made by a critic. Says that Jack's general appearance of hard work and conscientiousness is only a pose. It's not genuine. It's fake. It's fake. He pretends that he's a hard worker and he's genuine, and he's not this way. He's not that way. And what are the grounds? هيبقى اللي بيدلع كم again and again Jack has chosen to work hard at publicly visible project and had never followed through on jobs catering for a lot of invisibles. He only wants to show up, to do the jobs that are visible, so as to gain gratification from people, to make people feel or believe that this guy is a good guy, and to be thanked by the people, and to gain gratitude, and to gain privileges and gains, and so on. So what is the warrant here? The warrant بقى الإطار العام, anyone who seeks to work only at what is rewarded is not conscientious. If you are doing only what you feel that you will be rewarded for, this means, and what you feel that people will thank you for, and you are only observing people's people's let's say admission, or let's say confirmation, or people's support, and so on. And if you are showy and you do things just to be thanked for that, this means that you are anyone. This is the conclusion. Anyone. This is the word. Anyone who is doing that, who is doing things to be thanked for the people, to be thanked for them, not to do them out of his inner let's say inner conviction that he's doing something good for the sake of good. He's doing something good for the sake of being thanked for by people. So these are the different kinds of warrant that we see in our life. In medicine, it's experience of physicians, history of medical learning, hunches, and so on. In a law course, you will find that they are laws, they are articles, constitution, and so on. If you go to life in general, you will find general facts we abide by. In literature and in criticism and aesthetics and so on, it's your point of view, and also you have to make some conclusions and warrants. If in the field of business and so on, warrants take the form of policies, general policies. Businesses adopt and let's say enforce and make these policies applicable in their in the companies, and staff should abide by these policies, and these policies must be respected and not violated at the rest of these elements. And so as the writer has said, warrants are not necessarily explicit. They are not necessarily explicit. You will not, sometimes you will not find written in the arguments. You can find claim, well formulated, clearly formulated. You can find grounds, clearly formulated and clearly written and clearly put forward. But sometimes you have to infer, تستنتج, you have to infer the warrant, to infer it, okay? And this is what we're gonna do now, okay? Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Yes. But before that, yes, let's go to number 2, because this is an exercise that will help you get more in touch with the idea of let's say warrant, the idea of warrant before exercise number 1. Yes, it's on page what? Let me see. Yes, on page 56. Yes, let's do number 1. But first, read the question. Discuss the following warrants. What topics will they usually, what topics will they typically be concerned with? Topics, you know, topics. Is it medicine? You know, is it law? Is it aesthetics? Is it, you know, let's say mathematics and the natural sciences? Okay, and so on. The fields نفسها. Okay, let's look and construct argument based upon appeal to them. Let's look at number 1. Keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior. This is a word. General rule. Keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior. We want to provide for this warrant, number 1, a G or G, and number 2, a C, grounds and claim. Let's look at it. Okay, can you see? Yes. Keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior. This is the warrant as it is in the book, زي ما موجود في الكتاب. Okay? طب in order to deconstruct this warrant, deconstruct يعني let's say cut it into pieces. In order to deconstruct this word and extract from it, ونخرج منه, extract from it the G and the C, the claim and the grounds. Let's see. Keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior. طب what is C? C. ها؟ ايه ال C اللي المفروض نطلعه من هنا؟ People should keep promises. A claim. So people should keep promises. طيب. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, sorry for the interruption. Yeah, so let's go back to our example. Keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior. Okay, we can get the two elements of two elements of argument out of this warrant. This is a warrant. I can derive claim and I can derive grounds from this warrant. How? Yes, keeping promises. Okay, so I'm gonna get this and formulate a claim. People should keep promises. The question is why? We want reasons. I get the rest of the warrant and I formulate the G, which is ground. I formulate the G, which is ground. The G, do you see? the G, which is grounds, because this is the first requirement of ethical behavior. Again, people should keep promises. This is a claim. Lee, why ground? Because this is the first requirement of ethical behavior. Linking these two elements, we get the warrant at the top. Keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior. So a warrant links both. So in any warrant, you will find the two elements, the two other elements of argument, the claim and grounds. Okay, claim and grounds. And it's a link. زي ما عملنا كده. Keeping promises, this is a claim. People should keep promises. And in claims, you should use words such as people and should and governments should and so on. And what is a ground? Reason? Because this is the first requirement of ethical behavior. You understand? So, linking both, we get this. We can move from, let's say, because keeping promises, ممكن أقراها بطريقة تانية. Because keeping promises is the first requirement of ethical behavior, okay, people should keep their promises. Everyone should keep his or her promises. You understand? فهمت G? You got it? So the warrant includes both. The C, which is claim, and the number 2, the G, which is the reason or ground. Let's take another example. Number 2. نقرا مع بعض. Let's read. The United States strategic forces exist for the purpose of deterring war. Okay. Yes. This is the example. The United States strategic forces exist for deterring war. This is a warrant. How can we get, okay, claim and G grounds from this warrant? How can? Okay, number 1. Let's look at the claim. New weapons system deter war. Okay. New weapon system deter war. And number 2, ground the U.S. need to develop the U.S. need to develop new sorry يا جماعة sorry this is number this is C. The U.S. need to develop new and costly weapon system. Why does the U.S. need to update and upgrade its weapon system? Why? Okay. The ground is that we have to that if America is let me because things are not clear here. Yes, if you look at the example number 2, America's strategic forces, okay, exist for deterring war. People or presidents of the U.S. and policymakers in the U.S. say that we spend money on upgrading our defense systems because this is a guarantee or something to deter enemies, to make them not to think of launching a war on us. This is how American politicians say. This is their warrant. Okay. And what is the claim هنا? In America should have new weapons, should spend money on new weapons. This is the claim type. Why? Because if you have new weapons, this will deter enemies, will prevent enemies from invading America. So let's link بقى spending money on upgrading defense system and weapon system in America will prevent enemies from attacking America. And what is the warrant? What is a warrant؟ ايه بقى الاسامبشن؟ ايه القواعد؟ ايه الجنرalizations اللي هنا؟ in if America is strong enough, no one will attack it. And here America's strategic forces are there, and they are developed to deter people, to deter enemies and so on. Okay, number 3. All religions must be allowed freedom of expression in a democracy. All religions must be allowed freedom of expression in a democracy. In a democracy. Have you read the warrant number 3? Yes. Let's look at it. Here we have this one. All religions must be allowed freedom of expression. Okay? In a democratic state. What is the claim? Religions must be exercised freely. Opinion. Religions claim. Religions must be exercised freely. Why? Because this means that this allowing religions to be exercised freely, this means that the country is democratic, and it is considered and it's a constitutional right. You know, if a country allows religions to be exercised freely, this means that this country is democratic, and it obeys constitution, because this is a constitutional right. So لو بصينا عليه تاني, all religions must be allowed freedom of expression in a democracy. The claim would be religions must be exercised freely. Number 2, the claim, the ground, because this is a mark, or this an indicator that a country is really democratic and respects the constitution, because this is a constitutional right. Okay, number 4. Let's read number 4. The club pool is restricted to members and their guests. Okay, the club pool is restricted to members and their guests. This is a warrant. برضه كل اللي بناخده ده warrant. ده rule, يعني بدون قانون. Okay, let's look at the claim. لما اقول مثلا John cannot or shouldn't swim in the pool. Okay, John cannot or shouldn't swim in the pool. The ground reason, he is not a member of the club. He's not a member of the club. How can we link these two things, C and G? The club pool is restricted to members and guests. No one else is allowed to swim in the pool. You understand? Is this understood? The club pool is restricted to members and their guests. John can هطلع منهم ايه الكليم ايه John, or مثلا no one can let's say keep it as it is. John or X or anyone cannot or shouldn't swim in the pool. Why? He is not a member of the club. الكونكلوجن or يعني الورنت, الرول اللي بتعمل الحاجات دي, او اللو او البوليسي, is that the club pool is restricted to members and their guests. Number 5. Choosing one's own lifestyle is what freedom means. Choosing one's own lifestyle is what freedom means. طيب. Choosing one's own lifestyle is what freedom means. برضه هاخد منه. First, everyone should choose his lifestyle. Choosing one's own lifestyle. يبقى everyone should choose or has the right to choose his lifestyle. This claim. This what? Claim. Ground is سبب بقى, because this is a principal indication of freedom. This is a principal indication of freedom. This is one of the principles of freedom. This is the core of freedom. يبقى لما أقول choosing one's own lifestyle is what freedom means. I can extract from this warrant a claim, which is everyone should choose his lifestyle. Everyone should choose his lifestyle. And also I can get من الحتة التحتانية بقى second part, I can get the ground, which is this is a principal indicator, يعني allowing people to choose their own lifestyle is a principal indicator or a principal indication of freedom. This is what freedom means. This is what freedom means. So as we see, the warrant is a link between the claim and the ground, or the grounds and the claim. And this is the general umbrella, the general assumptions, the general rules, the general beliefs we believe in, the general principles that govern our life, that everyone should be free in choosing his lifestyle, because this is what we mean by freedom. Okay, another example. Let's look at number 10. Let's make a big jump. Okay, number 10, 15 miles per hour is the speed limit in thickly settled areas. What is this warrant? It's what? It's law. It's a law. It's a law authorizing or yes, determining the speed limit for drivers. Driving law. So warrant, as I told you, it could be a law, it could be a general rule, it could be a fact, it could be, let's say, some education theories, hypotheses, things we all believe in, generalization, tamim, deductions, inferences, all these things. So let's look at number 10. 15 miles per hour is the speed limit in thickly settled areas. Okay, let's look at the claim. The claim here: John should drive at 15 miles per hour, or بلاش John, people should drive at 15 miles per hour. Why? Because they drive in thickly settled areas, أماكن مزدحمة. Okay, thickly settled, busy and crowded areas. You understand? This is low. The warrant here is low, and the topic بتاع الwarrant is low, as I told you before. Okay, so here we have the claim that no one should exceed يعني we can put it, by the way, you can put the claim in many ways, but keep the same meaning. For example, no one should exceed the speed limit, which is 15. This is a claim. Why? Because in this you're gonna drive, or you are driving, or this is the speed limit that is permissible when you are driving in crowded areas, in thickly settled areas. This is the speed limit. You know, you cannot exceed it. Why? برضو سؤال تاني. برضو maybe you can hit people, you can kill people. Over speed can be a sort of disturbance to people living in this place. You can make accidents. There could be some people who can lose or who may lose their lives. So all these are things. Let's look again at this example, number 10. 15 miles per hour is speed limit in thickly settled. Okay, people or John should drive at 14. Okay, or shouldn't exceed 15 15 miles per hour. What's the reason? Because in crowded areas you cannot exceed this, because this can cause lots of accidents and losses of life. Okay, I'm not going to prolong to get you longer than that, because I know that this is something not comfortable for you. But I want you to go back to chapter 3, and you will find about 20 arguments, or 20 claims and grounds. I want you to formulate warrants for them, for each one of them. Let's take one example. Number 1, Anderson is a good neighbor because, yalla, go back to page 32. I'm gonna do 2 or 3 examples with you. We have here claims and grounds, but we want to generalize, or we want to have a warrant that links these claims to their grounds. Let's take number 1. Anderson is a good neighbor because he maintains his property conscientiously. Okay, what is the claim here? يلا نقسمها. What is the claim? Anderson is a good neighbor. And what is the reason, which is ground here? He maintains his property conscientiously. Great. What is the conclusion, or yes, the umbrella that people, we can say that people who اخد من الجراوند عشان اوصل للconclusion. People who maintains their property conscientiously are good neighbors. Again, people who maintain their properties, ببدأ بالground. People who maintain their property conscientiously lead مالهم will lead to the claim, which is they are good neighbors. أنا ما بتكلمش هنا على Anderson. I'm giving a general rule. This is a fact, as long as you have or a principle, as long, or an assumption, general assumption. We all assume that. فرضية, this we all agree on that. That as long as people are so conscientious in maintaining their property and so on, or therefore they are good neighbors because of so and so, therefore and so on. بما انهم كذا وكذا اذا هم فعلا ناس كويسين. This is الكليم. يبقى this is the warrant. يبقى people who are maintaining their property conscientiously are good neighbors. Let's take number 2. Prince Charles is the next in line to the King of England because he is the eldest male descendant of the reigning monarch. Okay, what's the ground? The reason here, because. What comes after because? And what is the claim? Prince Charles is the next in line to the King of England. Last time we talked about this and said it's law, So law here is a warrant. So we can say that yes, the eldest, نعممها بقى مالناش دعوة بتشارلز. The eldest male descendant of the royal family is the next in line to the throne. Any male descendant who is the eldest in the royal family will be the king, or the future king will be the first in line to the throne. This is law. This is constitution. The constitution of the UK. Go to number 4. July is a bad month for trout fishing because trout feed on the dry of other fish during that month. What is the claim here? The claim here is that some insects, suffer during some years, some months of the year because of so and so and so. Let's say to number 6, cheating on exams can sometimes be justified because not all courses are part of, let's say, switch, yeah, and Cheating on exams can sometimes be justified because not all courses are part of a student's major program, nor related to a student's career, besides, and so on. These are reasons which grounds which justify the claim many people believe in, that cheating is justified, could be tolerable. Okay, what is the warrant here? What's the warrant here? You know, we can say that cheating is sometimes justifiable due to some reasons by some people. Generally, نعمل لهم كده general conclusion. Cheating is sometimes justifiable by some reasons, or some people justify cheating in some situations. Okay, and so here I want you to have a look at these things, and I want to finish this part by saying that read carefully the exercises of chapter 3 and chapter 4. I want you to know how to link claims to grounds, and also, as I told you before, that warrants are not necessarily explicit. We take them for granted, we assume them, بنفترضهم. Sometimes they are not written, they are not there. And a claim, you can find a claim in an argument and underline it. You can find as grounds. But sometimes the warrants are, or most of the time, warrants are implied. Implied. You understand? Something we have to deduce, to infer. But as students of argumentation, we have to make it clear. We have to make it clear. You understand? We have to make it as clearly as possible in order to make sure that our arguments are okay. Okay. For example, if you go to this example, everyone choosing one's own lifestyle is what freedom means. General principle. Things, they are very easy to talk about. Warrants are very easy to talk about. Look at the principles that govern our life, the principles that govern our life. Look at the laws which govern a particular phenomena. Look at rules. Look at formulas. Things that we abide by, that we refer to, that we believe in, that we use in order to consolidate our arguments. Okay, I will send you a number of exercises, additional exercises, to make things clearer for you. But here we come to the end of the first part of our book, which is argument and argument elements and so on. What I want you to pay attention to in this part, what are the elements of, what's meant by argument? What are the different elements of argument? Okay, how to make a claim. What are grounds? What are warrants? What are warrants? Of course, there are other elements such as rebuttals and backing and so on, but we're gonna suffice with this. We're gonna stop with this. In this part, it's enough for you to tell me in any argument what is a claim, what are grounds, and what is a warrant that links a claim to its grounds. This is enough for me. You're gonna be tested in this part by I'm gonna give you some passages or some extracts as you have here in the book, and I ask you to identify claims, to identify warrants, to identify let's say grounds, or I can provide give you some extracts where you will find claims and you'll find grounds, and you have to deduce or write the claim, the warrant. You have to write the warrant as we did today. Okay, let's finish with another example. If I say imagine a politician who ruled his country as a prime minister for 10 years. And after 10 years, he resigned. And in his resignation speech, he says to the people, I'm not going to judge my rule or my chairmanship or my premiership or my presidency and so on, which lasts for 10 years. I will leave you to judge it. I'm not going to judge it. Okay? If you are in this situation, what are the different elements of argument here? What is the claim? What does the politician want to say here? What is his point of view? What does he want people to believe in? What's his claim? He wants to say, which is impolite, he didn't say it. But sometimes the elements of argument are not clearly stated. Even claims are not clearly stated. For example, so in this example, he wants to say, I'm a politician. I did my job in an efficient way. I was a good ruler. Okay? And I am democratic. And I'm not going to judge myself. I leave this for you. This is a claim. I'm democratic. I'm not saying that I'm good. I'm leaving this for you to decide for yourself. I'm leaving this for the people to decide whether I'm democratic or not. To decide or to judge my rule or my way of ruling the country and so on. My years of ruling the country. Okay? I'm going to leave people do that. What does he want to say? He wants to say that I am democratic. Okay? And what is what is the ground here? What are the reasons here? That he is leaving this to the people. He doesn't say I'm a democratic ruler. He's leaving the people to say that. And what is the warrant? Also implicated, مش موجود ومالهوش. It is that rulers or politicians who do not praise themselves and let people judge them the way they like are really democratic rulers. You understand? I'm going to give you further examples, inshallah, on the group website. And I want you to take things seriously, identify elements of argument, claims, grounds, warrants, and try to think critically, because the purpose of this part is to help you think critically and to look for, don't take things for granted, don't accept people's claims without looking for grounds, reasons, evidence, proofs, and also without going back to the umbrella, to the assumptions, to the general statements that govern this, which are, the code, the laws, the rules, the formulas that are there and tell us what's okay and what's not okay, what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, what's sound and what's not sound, what's logical and what's not logical, and so on. Being able to argue and being able to be involved in argumentation and argumentative practices and speech and so on is a skill that I want every one of you to master, really, because it's a skill for life, not only a skill for exams and courses. No, it's a skill for life. Good luck and thank you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.